This time on Game Warden Wildlife Journal. The largest population of the African antelope, called the Kalahari Desert Oryx, isn't in the Kalahari. It's in New Mexico. And we'll go flat out with gravel flying in a high-risk driving course in Iowa. In the 1960s, the New Mexico State Game Commission decided to introduce a number of exotic African game animals to some areas where game wasn't thriving, like the White Sands Missile Range, where America's space rockets were first developed. Here they implanted some 91 Kalahari Desert Oryx, descended from 6 breeding adults brought into this country and bred in zoos. The Oryx is an African antelope that can live virtually without drinking water and withstand temperatures of 110 degrees. They found the bleak, hard-scrabble White Sands area like a grassy meadow compared to the Kalahari, and multiplied so fast there are now more Oryx here than in Africa. They also spread out into the White Sands Monument National Park, where park policy left no place for Oryx.
The Oryx have done amazingly well here in New Mexico. We get less than 10 inches of annual moisture a year. Actually, where we are is lush compared to where they came from in the Kalahari Desert. They can go long periods of time with no water at all, just getting enough moisture from the plant material.
The Oryx is among the larger African antelope, with bulls sometimes weighing up to 450 pounds and brandishing horns as long as 34 inches. The horns are used in non-lethal mating battles, but are also quite effective in defense. Oryx actually have been known to impale lions on their horns.
Just amazing desert animals.
When these animals were brought into southern New Mexico, they were brought into an area in the northern part of the Missile Range.
91 head total releases between 69 and 74, and the game department estimates that there's approximately 3,000 statewide, with the bulk of those on the range.
Because of national park policy, only indigenous species can inhabit the White Sands National Monument, so the Oryx must be moved.
The monument's been fencing this area. Once they completed their fence 100%, then they asked the Missile Range and the Game and Fish Department to come and help them get what Oryx are left inside.
We're working on a multi-year project of non-lethal removal.
We had a number of different activities in mind for removing Oryx from the park.
We had a 3-day project of helicopter darting. That was in a remote area where it was too far to drive animals. So we used one helicopter for locating and then pursuing animals, darted it with an anesthesia drug. Then a large cargo type helicopter came along with a crew with a veterinarian plus animal handlers. They would check the vital signs, and then they loaded it into a sling bag, hook up the sling bag to a long line under the helicopter, then the helicopter would fly off to a release site. There a second crew received the animal, give it a reversal drug. After about 5 minutes it would be on its feet and off it went.
In this second phase here, the ATV drive has taken a lot of coordination.
Some of the agencies involved are the U.S. Army, the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. We have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and of course the National Park Service.
So we've got all of those different factions coming together. Low and slow, 3 miles an hour. Okay. If you see Oryx, tell me how many and what direction, just creep along. Then that'll help me put the whole thing kind of together, and I'll keep the line straight. I'm going to put in this gate right here, come around on the north side of this arroyo and head out that direction. Okay, get on your bike, let's go.
The visibility from ATV to ATV is not good. We have a helicopter flying back and forth with a spotter in it. He has a radio where he can talk to the ATVs. The communications that are really important here.
Everybody stop for 1 second. We got to make a slight change. To get out to where we're going way too slow. We got to pick up the speed. Then when we head north, we'll drop back down to 3 miles an hour.
Okay, the ATVs are deployed now. The line's about 3 miles long. They've got about 200-yard intervals.
Let's go ahead and start our northerly route and see what we pick up.
They'll be pushing the animals up to the corner of the fence line at the northwest corner of the monument, and there'll be an opening out there.
After 6 miles driving through the desert, moving Oryx ahead of us, we choke it down to within 20 yards apart as they slowly close.
And the animals will run through a 100-yard opening in the fence. As soon as that operation is done by midday, then the fence crew puts the fence back up.
Usually national parks are closed to off-road vehicle traffic. We were making an exception for this particular operation. I had to weigh the long-term impact of a herd of oryx in the park versus the single pass of an ATV.
These oryx have a very strong instinct to get back to their home range. And the farther you push them away from that, the more they want to get back. If you try to push them too fast, the animals will break through, cut back into where they want to get back to. They're pretty headstrong.
We've had oryx, if they get driven a long way, even at a slow pace, come within a quarter mile of the gate and lay down. And those type of animals, we just have to leave. They can get very stubborn, and that's brought on by the stress factor. Generally, though, if we're going slow enough, and especially with these bikes, we can get them to go out this gate that we've got open this morning. There's quite a bit of satisfaction anytime you can do something that helps the resource. And when the last black rump of the last oryx leaves the monument, I'm hoping I'm there to wave goodbye to him. That'll give me a pretty good feeling of accomplishment.
Welcome to White Sands Week. I'm Arthur Callaway.
I'm Dennis Vasquez, Park Superintendent at White Sands National Monument.
On this edition of White Sands Week, the Pack Tree Patriot rules again.
And employees from White Sands National Monument team up with multiple agencies to control the movements of oryx in these beautiful dunes.
And Dennis, why are we in this pickup truck?
Well, we're just having an African oryx, a large antelope, delivered to this site. It has been tranquilized. Very shortly, we're going to be administering a reversal drug to bring that back to consciousness. We don't know where that animal is going to move, so for safety's sake, we're going to stay in the back of this pickup truck.
We're in the best spot right now, huh?
We're in a pretty safe spot here.
Well, as you can see, this big guy is going to be waking up pretty soon, and so you're going to see how large he is and he move around. We're going to bring you those top stories, plus much more. But first, this message.
In nature, we see reflections of our children. The tree is the strong one, the ocean rambunctious and untamed, and the sky the absolute dreamer. Like our children, each brings something wonderful and unique. They add color, they bring life, but most of all, they amaze. They can be as large as a mountain or as small as a blade of grass. Yet in the eyes of importance, they're all the same size. And to choose the sky over the water would be like choosing one child over the next. An impossibility as large as the world itself. EarthShare, the world's leading environmental groups working together. To learn how you and your employer can help, please visit our website.
Thanks for staying with us. That was pretty interesting, huh? On February 5th, the early Saturday morning skies were lit up by Patriot Advanced Capability 3, or PAC-3 missile, after it successfully hit the Hera target over White Sands Missile Range.
Test objectives included demonstrating system missile capability to engage a full-body tactical ballistic missile using remote operations, which include employing the launching station's 344 kilometers from the radar and engagement control stations. and demonstrating intercept using the tactical software, which allows the seeker to select the optimal aim point on the target. The PAC-3 missile is a high-velocity hit-to-kill missile and is the next-generation Patriot missile being developed to provide increased defense capability against advanced tactical ballistic missiles, cruise missile, and hostile aircrafts. The PAC-3 missile used kinetic energy to destroy the target rather than employing a high-explosive warhead. The PAC-3 missile successfully completed 4 missions before this flight test. The first 2 PAC-3 developmental test missions consisted of missiles with special instrumentation packages in place of the seeker, and the missions were structured to verify critical systems and missile performances prior to conducting target intercept flight tests. A seeker characterization flight mission was conducted March 15, 1999 to test a PAC-3 missile with a seeker. Although not a primary objective of the SCF, an intercept of the target was achieved. On September 16, 1999, a second intercept test was successful. The remaining PAC-3 missions will consist of 14 PAC-3 missiles intercepting various classes of targets. Now, here on White Sands Missile Range, the range occupies 3,200 square miles of varied terrain in southern New Mexico. The range encompasses dry lake beds at the 4,000-foot level and steep rocky mountain peaks at the 9,000-foot level. Now, in between these peaks are rolling grasslands, sand dunes, lava floors, and rugged canyons, some of Mother Nature's most beautiful landscape.
Within this area, about the size of Rhode Island and Delaware combined, a vast array of animal life can be found. Since the White Sands Missile Range is a restricted entry installation, animals of all kinds enjoy life relatively free from the influences of modern man. There is controlled hunting here for some species, but most exist in a wildlife refuge type of environment.
The gemsbok, or Oryx gazella, is an antelope from the Kalahari region of Africa. This big animal, weighing between 400 and 500 pounds, was introduced to White Sands in 1969. They now range off the missile range and have been seen along the Texas border and west as far as the Rio Grande.
Now, some of these animals are enjoying the beauty of these dunes at White Sands Monument, and a bit of damage is the results of their stay here. My colleague Miriam Rodriguez had a busy day yesterday getting some information from some of the many key players on how to remove these large animals that pretty much rule wherever they go. And our interview started with our own superintendent here at White Sands Monument, Dennis Vasquez.
How many oryx are there in the park at this time?
We have about 120 animals in the park at this time. Last year we conducted a pretty good census of these animals, and at that time we had 150 animals. Then about a year ago we chased 46 of these animals out of the park using helicopters and opening up sections of this fence. So at that time we had about 100 animals left. Over the course of the year we guess the population is increasing about 20 to 30% a year, so we are guessing we have about 120 animals in the park right now.
What's going to happen to the animals once they are captured?
Well, we have a vet on the staff here, or it's part of this operation, so we're going to take the best care we can of these animals, make sure that they're not injured in the process of this operation. We will carefully fly them out of the park onto a release site. There at the release site we'll have some more veterinary technicians, we'll have Department of Game and Fish staff, we'll have other biologists on board. We will put an ear tag in one of their ears. We will put a collar around their neck with an identifying number. We'll take basic data like size, weight, horn length, that kind of information, and then we'll reverse the drug that tranquilized them and then release them out to the wild again.
How often is this operation conducted?
Well, actually, this is the first time that this kind of operation has taken place, certainly in this country, and I'm almost certain the first time it's ever happened anywhere. I've talked to our counterparts in South Africa, and although they've done a lot of oryx management there, they've never had an intensive helicopter operation like we're doing here. So this is probably the world's first, flying oryx operation.
What agencies are going to be involved in the operation, and what role will each of them play?
We have a number of federal and state agencies as well as a private contractor here. We have, of course, the National Park Service is represented here, not only the White Sands National Monument staff, but we have folks that have come from Mesa Verde National Park, from Carlsbad Caverns National Park. We have our lead biologist from the Washington offices here. We also have, of course, the U.S. Army, their wildlife biologists and other personnel from White Sands Missile Range. Army Air civilian helicopter pilots are providing the air support here. And we also have the Department of Game and Fish, the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. Their game wardens are on hand here. Also the Department of Interior Office of Aircraft Services. We have one person from that office here with us on this operation, as well as 4 people serving in the veterinary role, 1 veterinarian and 4 technicians. So all in all, we have about 30 people involved in this 3-day operation.
Hey, Mr.
Well, the White Sands National Monument is a unit of the National Park System. National parks are set aside to manage natural conditions, natural processes, natural environments. This is a large non-native species. It's having a serious impacts on the soil in the area. It's competing with other animals. It's taking a lot of vegetation. So on the one hand, there's biological degradation of the park resources. On the other hand, there's just a very strong National Park Service policy managing for natural species. So in this case, we are trying to remove this non-native species from White Sands National Monument.
Mr. Vasquez, will we be able to speak to some of the people involved in the operation?
Yeah, we're very proud of the interagency cooperation in this effort, and we'd love for you to talk to different people about their roles in this operation.
Okay, thank you for your time. We'll be right back after these messages.
My primary role in today's capture is I'm serving as the aerial gunner, using both a dart rifle to anesthetize these oryx and also a net gun to capture them. That's my primary role here today. I've also served as the Department of Interior, the National Park Service consultant for aerial capture to the park, and so that's been an ongoing process for the last year or so in a consulting phase. And thirdly, I serve as the repository for the drugs, the anesthetic drugs or immobilization drugs that we're going to be using on these animals. Okay? So I'm responsible for those.
Mike, do you think we'll have a chance to talk to the doctor?
I'm sure that he's around here somewhere, and we can probably get a hold of him, and I know that he'd be happy to take a few minutes and to talk to you.
Miriam, this is Dr. Forsyth. He's the veterinarian on this project.
Hello, Dr. Forsyth.
Hi, fine, thank you.
Dr. Forsyth, what is your role in this operation?
My role as a veterinarian for this project involves animal welfare. Now, animal welfare may be the animal handlers, the 2-legged animals, or maybe the 4-legged, our target species, the protection and welfare of those.
And how will you capture these animals?
The animals are going to be captured one of 2 ways. We'll either approach them with a helicopter and shoot them with a chemical dart and immobilize them chemically. Some of the younger animals where we don't feel that drug may be safe, we may use a net gun and actually physically restrain them with a net.
Tell me about the drug that's being used.
The drug that we're using to subdue these animals, if you will, is a drug called carfentanil. And carfentanil is a very potent opiate narcotic type drug. It's 10,000 times the strength of morphine. A very small amount. In fact, we're going to use about a 1 cc dose to knock down these big animals.
How does the drug work on the animals?
Well, once the drug's injected in those animals, it very quickly works on their brain and their respiratory tract and subdues those. We think that once that dart hits them, they will be in a chemical plane of immobilization somewhere between 1 and 5 minutes.
What's the main purpose of using the drug like this?
The nice thing about this drug is several things. Carfentanil, one, being a narcotic, is very easily reversible, and that's nice in this wildlife capture because when we have an animal lying there, the longer they're down, the more physiological stress that they have. So when we get done with our project, we give them a reversal drug, it very quickly antagonizes that drug, and within a couple minutes off, they're running down the prairie again. It's a very low volume, and that means to us that we can use a small dart. A small dart means less impact and less harm to the animal.
So, Doctor, what type of experience have you had with these type of captures?
We've done several Oryx captures. Carfentanil has worked extremely well. Very nice because of reversibility. Oftentimes it's hot temperatures. That puts additional stress. So the less amount of time they're down on the ground, the better off they are. We've also used that drug in bighorn sheep and buffalo, elk, deer, a variety of animals. Very safe, very effective.
What organization are you with?
I have a practice in Rio Rancho, New Mexico called the Cottonwood Animal Clinic, which is just a private practice, and we do contract work as well for various state and national agencies in wildlife capture and relocation.
Are you going to have someone else helping you during the capture?
Yes, I brought 3 of my well-trained technicians. 2 of the technicians we're going to have at the release site, and they'll be responsible for administering the reversal agents to the animals when they go to the release site. Another of my technicians will be with me. He'll help me maintain the animals, help me with the drugs, and monitor the vital signs of the animal.
Other roles were performed by members of New Mexico State and White Sands Missile Range.
Patrick, what is White Sands' role in this operation?
Well, White Sands is in a support role to the monument for the capture of oryx, removal of oryx from the monument onto White Sands Missile Range property.
And what will you?
Well, I'll serve in 2 roles. I'll be on a UH-1 Army Air helicopter as a mugger, assisting with the control of the oryx once it's been drugged and putting into a sling so it can be slinged back to the point where it can be tagged and released. And I'll also serve on the OH-58 helicopter as an observer for the gunner of the operation.
What does your job entail?
Well, as an observer, I will help the gunner search for oryx for us to capture, and I will assist in locating oryx, assist in watching for the pilot where there might be high brush or poles. I'll also assist in anything that the shooter needs, the gunner needs in his operation to capture the oryx. And as a mugger, I'll actually be getting out of the UH-1 once the animal is sedated, help them get them into the sling bags, get blindfolds on them, get the protective hose over the horns, get it hooked up to the drop line, and for the helicopter UH-1 pilot to take to the control point where they'll release it.
And what's going to happen to the animals at that point?
Well, they'll take some measurements to, look at, document whether it's a male or a female, horn length. They'll put a game and fish ear tag in it. They will take various other measurements, and then they'll give the releasal drug to the animal, and the animal, of course, will then be pushed away from the release site, and it'll again roam free on White Sands property.
Patrick, is this your first time working with the monument?
No, the White Sands Missile Range has been assisting the monument since about '94 in helping them remove oryx off the monument onto White Sands.
Okay, and how have you been involved in those operations?
Well, assisting the monument and coordinating these efforts, assisting with the capture operations, just about every detail. We've had a very good cooperative effort in all of these operations, so just wherever we're needed and however we can and support the monument.
Okay, and I understand you had something to do with organizing this operation?
Initially, yeah, some of the early operations, yeah, White Sands, the Department of Game and Fish and the monument worked real closely. I kind of served as the mediator between Game and Fish and the monument to help get everything together, but still mostly as a support role. The monument has taken the lead in the more recent operations, and we're just where we're needed. White Sands is willing to assist.
Okay.
From a visitor standpoint, I don't think there's ever been an incident where there's been a safety issue. The monument's removing them because of their mission and habitat degradation, but there's never been a safety issue related to oryx and visitors.
Okay. You mentioned that as a mugger, you're going to be part of the process will involve blindfolding the animals. Why are you doing that?
Well, we're blindfolding the animals and also plugging their ears to further reduce stress on the animal, so that if it can't see and it can't hear, it will be sedated, but it'll just keep the stress of the animal lower, so that we have a successful release of that animal, to reduce injuries to the animals.
Okay, what are you doing for the safety of the people that are involved in this?
Well, because oryx have long 3-foot horns and they can be very dangerous to humans who handle them, we will be putting basically garden hose over the horns to eliminate the potential injury of humans while they're handling. So you won't have that sharp tips of the horn sticking out where humans might get impaled.
The New Mexico Department of Game Fish will have the role to ensure the safety of the animal. We'll be working in 2 areas. We'll be working on the sling crew, where we'll be what we call mugging the animal, and that we'll use our expertise in animal handling to make sure everybody that's working on the sling crew is safe and to ensure that the animal is not injured. We'll also be working at the release site to make sure the animal gets up and running and he's okay after the tranquilizer's been worn off. And this gives us a great opportunity to work with the federal personnel, with like the national parks and with the White Sands Missile Range, and because we don't get a lot of opportunities to work together as state and federal agencies, so it gives us a great opportunity to work together to solve the problem of the oryx on the White Sands National Park.
We're going to take a short break and return with much more. Handling these large animals is not the only hazard that one has to be aware of during this project. The range is still very active. Some munitions are still visible throughout the range, and the proper authorities should be notified, as in this case, when a small piece of material was found and the EOD, or Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit, was notified to take the necessary measures to check the material out. As the nation continues its economic growth trend, so does the demand for waterborne commerce. Army Corps of Engineers correspondent Hank Husenfeld reports on one of the Corps' largest civil works project that will ease barge traffic congestion on one of the largest barges hubs in the country.
Dam number 52 on the lower Ohio River.
I'm with Patrick Morrow, the wildlife biologist for White Sands Missile Range. Patrick, what is White Sands' role in this operation?
Well, White Sands is in a support role to the monument for the capture of oryx, removal of oryx from the monument onto White Sands Missile Range property.
And what will you be doing?
Well, I'll serve in 2 roles. I'll be on a UH-1 Army Air helicopter as a mugger, assisting with the control of the oryx once it's been drugged and putting into a sling so it can be slinged back to the point where it can be tagged and released. And I'll also serve on the OH-58 helicopter as an observer for the gunner of the operation.
What does your job entail?
Well, as an observer, I will help the gunner search for oryx for us to capture, and I will assist in locating oryx, assist in watching for the pilot where there might be high brush or poles. I'll also assist in anything that the shooter needs, the gunner needs in his operation to capture the oryx. And as a mugger, I'll actually be getting out of the UH-1 once the animal is sedated, help them get them into the sling bags, get blindfolds on them, get the protective hose over the horns, get it hooked up to the drop line, and for the helicopter UH-1 pilot to take to the control point where they'll release it.
Okay. And what's